we'll be at practice and, Trent and Todd and Corey are sitting there saying, oh, in 2002, the score of this game was this. Remember this play? And I was on the field. I don't remember that.
I know where you're at, man. I mean, I've done so many games, it's like I can't remember anything. This is awesome. Yeah. Okay, we're hanging out with Bryan Mattison here now. Bryan, first of all, congratulations on an amazing career, and it's awesome that you come back to be a part of this community. One of the common themes that we're going to have throughout the book is the Penn Way. Started with Geese and started with Dr. Spiker, and really kind of establishing a level of expectations, if you will. Yeah. Family, that's a common theme. Yeah. What does the Penn Way mean to you?
It's special. It's not for everybody either. I mean, I think it's first and foremost doing things right, whether on the field or off the field. There is no switch that you can say, okay, I'm going to be doing the right thing now and I'm not going to do the right thing later. I think that's really important. I think what's special about the Penn Way is working hard makes you part of the team. It doesn't make you special. I think a lot of people think, if you work hard, you're special. At Penn, if you work hard, you're just another one of the guys, which I think is awesome. I mean, everybody's bought in. And like I'm sure everybody said, is family. I mean, any player on the team now or the team, 20 years ago, come to any coach with any problem, and the coach has their back. I mean, they'll help them out with anything. And I think just the tradition is very special too. A lot of guys I'm sure you've talked to, you get the goosebumps talking about, Penn football. And I'm lucky enough to be a part of it still, which I'm very thankful for. But I get together with my high school buddies, and first thing we talk about is Penn football. Anything else, you could have a kid, married, all this stuff. It's Penn football first. Get that out of the way, and then we can move to other stuff.
You have a very interesting family dynamic. Your dad is a very successful college coach, coach professional football. So you come from a little bit different pedigree, if you will. Yeah. I think you would probably agree with that. There's not too many guys whose dads are coaching in the NFL or coaching major college football. Yeah. And then now you're in this environment with you have all these really good high school coaches. So I'm interesting to hear, and we're going to hear from Dad in a little bit, but what's the dynamic between Greg and Bryan when it comes to looking at Penn? How does he view that?
When I was in high school, let's start in middle school. When I was in middle school, my mom would videotape some of the games. And my first experience, I remember we were watching this, 7th grade, I played linebacker, which is funny in itself. But we were watching it, and he just simply asked me, is this the best you can do? And I said, no. And that was the only thing that he ever required from me, was just do the best you can do. It had nothing to do with playing time, had nothing to do with starting or success. It was just do the best you can do. And it was a fun dynamic. As a father now, I try to think back to my experiences with my dad, and I hope that I can handle it as well as he did. I'm sure there was plenty of times that he wanted to get on me about stuff, and everything with him was making good decisions and doing the best you can do. And to me, that's what I've tried to carry through my life. It seems very simplified, but if you make good decisions and you do the best you can do, things are going to work out. And the dynamic, between him being a coach and then watching me play, he'd come to games and he was my biggest fan. I wasn't walking home after games, or getting yelled at, or he was. I really felt the support, from there. And I know that he has utmost respect for Coach Yeoman, who was my position coach, and Coach Gies, who was the head coach, and that was always fun. It was never, and I guess they could answer probably better than I could, but it seemed like he kept his distance. He never showed up at practice and sat there and whispered in their ears. They know just, it was a great dynamic that way. And I've said my whole life, I've been very fortunate with great coaches, one being my dad, and he was awesome. it was always fun. And then, two, being my position coach at Penn was Coach Corey, and I remember being scared to death of both men. I mean, those are the two men in my life that if I did not want to disappoint, and they could just look at me and I would melt like a little baby. I mean, they were the men in my lives, and thankful for both of them, and I guess I feel fortunate that I had a dad that was such a great dad and a position coach, and then I had a position coach at the high school that was such a great position coach and role model. So,
but you also go off to college, and you got a guy there who now is the dean of in the Big Ten, and Coach Ferentz, who I mean, and there's not a lot of guys who there's not a big pipeline of Indiana kids going to Iowa, so you find yourself in there, good coaching out there. And do you ever find yourself comparing? Because I've talked to a lot of college guys, and they still to this day will say, my high school experience, my high school coaches probably had a bigger impact on my life than my professional coach. I mean, Mike Rosenthal, I talked to Rosie about this. He says my high school coaches had a bigger impact than my NFL guys did or my college guys did.
Absolutely. The way I kind of look at it is, my dad got me from being born to high school, and then he handed the reins over to Coach Corey when it came to football and sports. And, and Coach Corey took over and got me to college. And when I was in college in the NFL, any problem I had or any question, I always look back to what those two men taught me. It's amazing. It was amazing to me when I got to Iowa. And I'd say Iowa recruits good, solid people, and some of my other teammates had no idea what a 5 technique was, or certain specifics that everybody at Penn knows. And I was just so thankful that Coach Corey, and my dad got me ready for college. And we joke about it. And when I was a high school player, I never thought about playing in college. My deal was, let's be the best Penn football player and have the best team we can have. Same thing in college. I wanted to be the best Iowa player I could be. I never thought about the NFL. And I took a lot of pride in that. I think it is very important to me to be in the moment and be the best player I can be right now. And kind of falling back on the lessons that my dad taught me growing up is work hard and do your job and everything will work out. Don't worry about all that other stuff. And it did. I mean, it's a great example of be the best Penn football defensive lineman you can be, and if something turns out, then it turns out. If it doesn't, then we'll just move on in life, And everybody can have goals and dreams and all that stuff, but I really tried to be the best defensive lineman I could be at Penn. Not only that Coach Corey didn't rip my face off, but that I could, just hold my head up high. So
now you're back coaching with these guys. What's the dynamic between you as a former player? I mean, you're a peer now. I mean, you're
well, I don't know if I'd say that. I like I said earlier,
still worried about Corey ripping your face off?
Absolutely, every day. I feel very fortunate to be able to coach under Coach Corey, and it's great being able to, if I have a question about the defensive line play, I work with Coach Thompson, Jeff Thompson, who was an amazing Penn player and played in college, and then I get to ask Coach Corey questions as well. And when it comes to D-line, like I said, between my dad and Coach Corey, if they don't know it, it doesn't exist. I mean, they know everything about the position, and Coach Corey, he can still give me that look, and I know it's game time, and which I appreciate. It's fun, and I joke with the D linemen and Jeff will say the same thing. You guys think you got it rough with us. We'll bring Coach Corey down here and he'll get you guys straight. That's what we grew up with, and but I think, I joke about all that, but the player, as a player, I mean, I played for Coach Corey. It was your teammates and for your coach, and I think he instilled that pride in us. You're a Penn defensive lineman. You're part of the fearsome foursome, and that's important. And it still is. I mean, I got the goosebumps now just talking about it. And, the college and the NFL thing, it all changes once you leave high school. It becomes, in college, you're playing for your team, your college team, which is great. But, and the NFL is a business, and you're taking care of yourself kind of deal. But there's nothing like high school Penn football. I mean, at its base. I mean, that's very, very pure in my mind.
A lot of the guys who are playing offense and the defense, there's this unwritten rivalry about the Wild Bunch and the Gold Rush guys. I've heard the Gold Rush guys talk about the Wild Bunch, and so can you share some funny stories between the offense and defensive guys?
We don't like them. We don't talk to them. We don't hang out with them. We don't like them. I'm kidding, but they, in high school, like I said, growing up a defensive line coach's son, and then getting to Penn and being part of the fearsome foursome on the Wild Bunch, I did not like offensive linemen. I didn't, and that's, I joke with it with some of my buddies now. My brother-in-law is the offensive line coach, and he's a great coach and a great friend, and we keep our distance during practice because we don't get along at practice. I mean, that's just,
Really?
Offensive line coaches and defensive line coaches aren't buddies on the field, and we're all on the same field trying to win the same state championship, but it was ingrained in me. I didn't have a choice, and the ironic part was, when I got to the NFL, I got moved to the offensive line, and that was hard. It really was, and I'm very fortunate for the opportunity, but I remember I thought to myself, I can't play offensive line. I'm a defensive lineman. I've been raised a defensive lineman. I've been raised to not like these guys. Now I have to hang out with them and play next to them, and so, like I said, it was a great opportunity, and I'm very thankful for it, but when my dad and I talked about moving to offensive line, I had to do some soul searching. I mean, it was different for me.
Funniest Penn moment for you, whether it be now as a coach, maybe as an athlete?
Every day for us as coaches, I think I didn't realize playing or growing up and how fun coaching was. I knew that they enjoyed it because they put crazy hours in and they give a lot to the profession, but I mean, every day we sit there and laugh about whatever it is. And I heard Gary talking, Gary Yeoman, and Coach Corey's got some really good one-liners, and I'm not going to repeat all of them, but they always have a message behind them too. Sometimes we laugh at him when he says them, but if you can get him to calm down a little bit and explain what he meant, it's got a great message to it. And funniest Penn moment, as a high school kid, I just remember how much fun it was. I can't think of a specific moment, but in high school, I remember we lost to Valpo, and I remember sitting on the couch crying because that's how much, I didn't know what was next. I had already signed at Iowa. I was headed to Iowa to play football, and I remember thinking, how can I keep, what am I going to do? We lost, which in my opinion just shows how important it is to everybody and how much you learn there. Sure, we want to win every game, right? That's everybody's goal, but Penn high school football is bigger than the wins and losses. And you learn life lessons. I think, like I said, I was fortunate to have a great father who was very involved, but I think a lot of these kids, you learn to be a man, and we're not necessarily coaching high school football kids. We're trying to raise men, and respect, punctuality, all that stuff at the core of it is the most important thing. If you have all those attributes in your life, the wins will come. I don't think you can win and be a bad guy. I think that's very limited success, and there's a lot to say about the way Penn football does things the right way, and I don't think everybody does in the country. And that was Coach Giesman and Coach Corey right there.
Was there a moment for you, a play, a game that stands out for you during the course of your career? That I know you were joking before that all the games, the scores, and they all kind of run together. But was there one of those beast mode moments where you're playing against the guy?
I don't know if I can remember a specific moment. I know we played Saginaw, which that was a fun game. They came down and scored right away, and we're thinking, what did we get ourselves into? Remember, they were going around the track, before the game, and their band was playing rap songs, and they were dancing, and I remember I was up in the front leading stretch. I was looking through my legs doing a stretch, and I remember thinking, here we go, boys. This is different than what we're used to. And you know, the first series, they took a run quite a ways down there, and Brian Aiello caught the Division I running back on the 1 or 2 yard line. They scored the next play, and you know, we come to the sideline kind of wide-eyed and somewhat worried, and then we ended up winning 49-7. You know, and Lamar Woodley was on that team, and they had all kinds of Division I talent. To tell you the truth, I mean, that would be the one that I remember the most, that game. I just remember the Wild Bunch defense swarming to the ball and celebrating with each other. And I mean, they got a yard and we were mad. I mean, that's what we had, that ingrained in us, that we don't have to give them anything, you know. And we'd be up a few touchdowns and they'd score on us. You know, you'd think, oh, it's not a big deal. We're still. I mean, the world was ending. Nobody scores on us, you know, and which we took pride in, which I think is pretty neat.
Awesome.